Is dew coming?
Oh,
What did you do with the almond croissant? Freeze them?
just one.
Hello.
Hi, Dew.
Hi. How are you? Here, I'm just gonna put my stuff down and
Get your pillow set up.
go get my pillows.
Hi, Dorothy.
Well, hi, Gary.
It's kind of wobbly on my main computer.
Consistency. No, it's just again, I just use my phone for some of the texting, so I can go online and see.
Interesting. All right, you can close it. Thank you. How funny.
Here's something.
Interesting. Yeah, there. Go there.
But this one's fine, right? Fine on this.
Now it's working.
It's not working on my computer. That's okay.
Okay.
Somehow it glitched. As long as you didn't glitch, Dorothy, then we're okay.
No, I'm
110?
please
110.
message from Ken.
Oh, hi, Ken.
Wanted us to know he's here with us.
Wow, that's beautiful. Good evening, my friends, and welcome to Wednesday night meditation on Wednesday night. How about that? Of course, all of our work is around the magic and the mystery of the Star Tetrahedron, which we call the Christ field, a prismatic structure that is woven of consciousness and light. And it is then the focusing of the mind, which creates light. The, of course, false mind is thinking, examining, criticizing, judging. The true mind, which is the higher mind, is simply focused light, just like the projector in a movie, focused light. And as we then assemble over time, the feeling of profound love, no longer holding emotions of fear or worry or frustration, but we have learned to love all that we are. It then creates a divine union, that the upper triangulation of divine power, focusing of light, and divine love. It creates what we call the mystical marriage, which is the Christ field. And as you can see, it creates this prismatic structure. So these are prisms of light. And as these prisms of light are turning rapidly, it then creates a vortex right in the very middle of the Star Tetrahedron, which is in the area of the heart chakra. In India, it is called the jewel in the lotus that opens, because the heart chakra is the lotus chakra, and the jewel in the lotus then is the doorway that opens. And it opens because the Christ star has then created that vortex back into the void. Within the void, all creation exists in possibilities. So if you would imagine, if you would just take a minute and go ahead and close your eyes, and you see darkness, maybe a little residual light from around and outside, but basically darkness. And if you simply watch the breath for a couple of counts, there's a silence. And that's the silence of the void. And this is where you and I truly exist. We are consciousness that exists within the void. Now imagine with your eyes closed that you could bring forth any image you wanted. An image of prosperity, image of perfect body, image of home, image of a perfectly healed body. But it's still within your mind. It has no form yet. Well, it's the Christ Prism, you see, that is like a lens. So when you can open your eyes now. So when you go to the movie and they turn the bright projector on, the focusing of light, there's a lens that the bright light shines through then the film. And the lens then takes that very small picture that's on the disc, on the film, and then it magnifies it to then take up the whole screen. Well, that lens, you see, is the Christ Prism. It takes the thought that's within the mind of the void, which is you exist within the void. You also exist as the Christ star, the Christ field. And you've also from the void projected out through the Christ field this experience that you're having, that you call yourself Dorothy, you call yourself Gary, you call yourself Tom. And so you are then all of these things. You are simply source that in the silence of the mind, the darkness, has created a system, a lens to then project light through, and then created as a holographic reality in this dimension. And the projection, you see, is held with such focus that the mind, again, just like the projector in a movie, with such clear focus on the film, it literally creates color upon the screen. In the exact same way, when you have an image within the void that you exist within the void, and then the Christ star illuminates that particular image, that's the choice of creation. The Christ star then magnifies and takes that image, and through this prismatic movement of light, it then colorizes it. And it creates it with such dense color, such dense particles of color, that it literally looks to be physical form. But we know within physics that an atom is 99.9999% space. And it's postulated that the electron, which revolves very quickly around that atom, just as the star tetrahedron turns, that is probably no more than a fuzzy mass of thought. So here we have space, 99.99% space. And then the five senses. We have made agreements with the five senses that we will taste it, touch it, feel it, smell it. And with the senses, we will then say it's real and solid. And because we believe that so strongly, it actually makes it so. What you think and believe becomes real. It becomes real not only in the sense that it becomes a solid structure, so to speak, even though it's 99.9% space in this dimension, but it's also, you see, that it's the thought that you originally had within the void, that the Christ field, the lens illuminated, that then shined out from the void, the open doorway of the heart, and then projected it out into this dimension with such particles of dense color, we then thought and felt it's real. And so to change something, this is what we call healing, to make something different in this dimension. We have been taught that I need to change it out here. I need to make something different in this three-dimensional world out here. And that takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of doing. And it's the way that we have been taught for all of these many last centuries. But you see, it's over. The paradigm is over now. That doing, making, manipulating, controlling has now reached its apex, its climax. And the apex was to develop the mind to be a very powerful, dynamic instrument. But now it's time to refine that which is the masculine of doing into the true masculine of focused and attention, which is light. And as the light then is held clearly and focused, and the feeling of love is then established, we then create a new way of living. We simply go within the void, we identify the feeling, the image of the creation. We hold the mind steady upon it. The Christ star is then spinning in its prismatic form around us. Source arising forth, it then colorizes through the prismatic form, and then life becomes. And so it's almost like magic, if you will. We're not trying to change something, you see, in the three-dimensional world. We're simply re-imaging it with such clarity and precision that it literally then dissolves, so to speak, the old illusion, because it is an illusion. The five senses have said it's through the form of the five senses, a physical thing, but it's 99.99% space. And so this is what the Master Jesus was able to do as he mastered the Christ system. Someone was unwhole. They were diseased. Again, no ease, some dis-ease. And through this knowing that the prismatic form of the Christ could simply focus upon the true image, already healed, already whole of that individual, by simply holding that steady within the mind of the Christ field and then projecting it out, it simply reformatted and reformed that which was then the focus. And so it becomes really a way of creating through magic that we are at the doorway of. Very exciting. Now, this Christ Prism, it really is the underlying creative force of all life. So even here you see, here is the Christ star. And around it, if If you imagine, these are then the cells of first life. So within the womb, when the egg has been fertilized, there are 2, there are 4, there are 8, there are 16. So this is then that 4th week of a child within a womb. It is the star tetrahedron that then from its movement of the star literally creates the cell to have structure and form. So underlying all living creation is the Christ field. And we have become unconscious of it because of the mind and thinking and what we were taught. We've begun to try and use the mind to make and to do and to manipulate, control, believing there's not enough of everything. When in fact, if you could simply with magic create it from inside out, there would be prosperity for all. There would be food aplenty. There would be no shortage of resources. And then there would be no greed. There would be no, fighting over all the things that people fight over. And so this is the new paradigm, you see, that we're moving into. It's really the beginning of it was in December 21st of this last year, 2020, when we moved out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And as the old paradigm now falls away, we see it destructuring. And it's falling away. Part of that is COVID, dis-ease. Part of that is financial. Part of that is some of the horrendous things we hear about on the news. One of them in San Jose today. All over the world, horrendous things happening. It's the destructuring, the falling apart of the old paradigm. And if we want to judge it and to criticize and then to dislike it, we're holding it fixed in the very real illusion of it. It's very visceral, I agree. But to hold the image of that which is truth and harmony and peace and love and sharing and emanate that from the Christ field within you and I, we overtake the ignorance, we overtake the illusion. Not trying to change it, not trying to manipulate it, not disliking it, but realizing at one level it's an illusion, a very visceral illusion. Sometimes you go to the movie and it can be a very dramatic movie. Well, you might even feel like you're going to cry. You might even feel that there's some stomach upset. There's something you want to walk out of the movie. It's just light and dark shadows playing upon a white screen. And when the movie stops, the white screen is still there, pure. In a very real sense, that's creation. It's always pure. It's always perfect. There are illusions happening, very visceral illusions. And when you own them with the mind and you focus upon them, it increases the energy around them, and then it happens again over here. Which is why we're at such a critical point right now of changing so dramatically the emanation of light from within us to recreate the world out there by not wanting to change it, by simply overlaying it with a whole new picture paradigm of love and of joy and of peace. And so that's the beauty you see of the Christ star and why this meditation work is so important, because we go beyond the doing to the magic of being, and from being we simply image in so clearly within the choices of the creation of love and joy. The Christ field around us simply emanates it out, and it then begins to arise forth around us. And then we meet it in magical ways. We meet people, we meet prosperity, we meet things that show up in our life. They're now being literally attracted to us because of the vibration that we have created within and around us. So this is the beauty and the magic of the Christ field. Again, upper triangulation, divine power, the focusing of light, masculine, we might say. Lower triangulation, divine feminine love, creating together a mystical marriage. Power and love in action. And then from out of the void, the dark and velvety nighttime, which is the, if you will, the area where all exists within the mind of Source God, already perfect and whole. You simply image in through the void the choices of your creation. Just as you closed your eyes, you were in the darkness, then you brought forth an image. And once the image was clear, which is again the focusing of the mind, image is clear. By the focusing upon it and the feeling of then arising forth from the open doorway of the heart, from out of the void, it arises forth into creation. That's the prismatic beauty and graciousness of the Star Tetrahedron. And that's why we practice it once a day, twice a day, always honing and refining our ability to bring light and love into this mystical marriage, and then create this movement, this prismatic body of light that is now flowing, moving around us. And the open doorway within the heart, from out of it, source spirit arising forth, touching the prism. The prism then refracts it, reflects it into particles of living light that become so visceral and real. Reality is then changed. One of the things, of course, we like to do in our work to become familiar with the open doorway is the Sohum Breath. And the Sohum Breath is the in-breathing, the So. It's from yogic breathing. We call it the Ujjayi. It's a gentle. And from that gentle restriction of the throat, it creates that sound of So. It doesn't need to be a loud sound or even a audible sound, but it's that Sohum breath. It's the So in breathing. And so it's then the breathing in of oxygen. But in our Sohum breath, not only are we breathing in oxygen, we're identifying the open doorway within the heart chakra, the void, and from out of it, the So is then the summoning of Source. So it's the oxygen in, Source arising forth. We hold the breath for a couple of counts, and as we gently exhale, we imagine and feel this sparkling, effervescent Source energy now flowing out from us through every cell and tissue of the body, healing, renewing, imaging the perfect body of living light, flowing out into the world and then gifting the world with the sunlight of love and grace. So let's do the Sohum breath for about 5 minutes. We like to have the spine nice and erect. You can feel the head being drawn up to the sky. Of course, I like to do the Sohum breath with eyes open. It allows me then to learn to practice it throughout the day, gardening, driving, walking, always summoning Source from inside out. Sohum. And another deep Sohum breath, summoning source from the open doorway in the heart. I've talked with quite a few of you online and with many other clients about the Sohum breath, that if you practice it throughout the day, you'll find that it's almost impossible to have an emotional upset in the middle of the Sohum breath. So if something has bothered you or got you sixes and nines and you're off center, if you simply begin the Sohum breath, you'll see that the mind is now taking its attention away from that which you were focused upon and feeling to the summoning of living light from inside out. And when the mind is focused that clearly upon breathing, you can't be upset. And so it's a way to diffuse whatever within your life you see is happening, that in that moment, it's got your attention and you're judging it or criticizing it or disliking it, which only gives more energy to it. Whatever we focus the light of the mind upon, it gives energy to it. If we're focused upon the Capitol riots and all that horse manure out there, it creates more horse manure fertilizer. If we focus upon love and joy and peace and harmony, we increase it. It's that simple. And humanity has become so focused upon fear and worry and travail and what's going on in the world and news and multimedia, on and on and on, that we over and over are kicking around through the talking heads of TV. All of this horse manure, and it's become a big pile of stinking shit. Excuse my French. It's time to grow flowers from that. Fertilizer grows great flowers, and the flowers are you from inside out. You feel a new way of living and being. That's the Sohum breath, and that's the Star Tetrahedron. So once again, the Star Tetrahedron is the bringing together of divine mind, upper triangulation of divine power. It's the focusing of light. And so this is the training ground of meditation, that we learn to silence the thinking, critical, talking mind. And over time, it becomes simply focused attention. That's light. And with the brow chakra, the third eye, which is where we hold our attention and we turn on the light, we ignite it. As the light then is being held, we then gently focus it to the heart. And we then ignite the image. We image in imagination of the Star Tetrahedron. And we see the upper triangulation turning from left to right, clockwise, and the lower triangulation turning right to left, counterclockwise. We don't need to get too hung up on the turning. It simply will turn. And it can be, of course, any size that you choose. But the beauty it is that as it turns, it opens the sacred doorway, the vortex, back into the void where you exist, I exist, we exist within the void. As the mind of Source God, we exist as the Christ field, which is the creative life force, and we exist upon the screen of reality. It's just we become so lost on the screen of reality, we think, oh, I'm just a body moving through time, space. You're the creator being that created this whole shebang. And now it's time to learn to recreate it. That's the Star Tetrahedron. So I'm going to take you through the formulation of the Star Tetrahedron, and then we'll meditate for about 35, 40 minutes. And I will join with you, and we'll all gather together in one amazing living light. So let's go ahead and close the eyes and feel the body relaxing. could be aware of the Sohum breath, gently and quietly breathing. Beginning to focus the mind. We bring our attention to the brow chakra between the eyes and gently drawing a line straight back within the approximate center point of the mind brain. We ignite the light. I am the light. Gently holding attention here, feel the light increasing as it fills the mind. The waters of the brain become living light. Focusing the light to the heart chakra at the sternum, we imagine the Star Tetrahedron. Whatever size you choose, it's your imagination. Upper triangulation, divine power, apex above, is turning left to right clockwise. And lower triangulation, divine feminine love, is turning right to left counterclockwise. The star is in front, it's in back, it's all around. I am the star. And within the heart chakra, the doorway opens into the void, and arising forth is a living spring, source, touching the facets of the spinning star, the prism, to spin out sparkling, effervescent, crystalline light all around. I am the light. Let's sit quietly together, and I will join with you and gather us all into the light stream. And welcome back. Another very beautiful meditation. Thank you, my friends. It's always glorious to be together on Wednesday night and meditate. The energy gets to be so beautiful and profound. Light shining everywhere. And of course, the more that we practice in our daily meditation, the Star Tetrahedron, the Christ field, becomes such a dynamic part of our life, our being. And you begin to feel a real expansive within your auric field, as though you're living really around and through the body, not so much structure just within the form, but a field of energy that is all around the divine mind, the great being you are, the soul that has a body. And you then are very clear that I am the being that is creating reality. And then there's a silence within, there's a peace within. And from that great peace, one knows that one can simply feel within the heart chakra, the doorway, the images, the feelings that one would create, holding the mind steady. And because we have refined and created the Christ star to be there, it becomes a living part of us. And then through this prismatic structure, it then simply holographically creates life anew around us. So practice is the key, my friends. If I can, of course, assist you in any way, please let me know. And I'm always there ready to help serve each and all of you. So we'll see you again in approximately 2 weeks. And once again, thank you so very much for joining with us tonight. Peace and goodwill, my friends.